So if the draft opinion of the Supreme Court goes through and they do completely destroy Roe v. Wade, how would that actually function? What would happen in the near term? Well, depends on what state you're in. So let's take a look at this little chart. There are a good number of states, the blue states, that have affirmative laws making clear that abortion is legal. So if you live in one of those states, at least in the short term, the situation is not likely to change too much for you in this particular area. Many of the states, though, are in the gray area, and so God only knows. Good luck with your state legislature. I hope that you've got some reasonable people there, because it could be outlawed in all of those gray states that you see make up about half of states. In the yellowish orange states, of course, that's a big chunk of the middle of the country, north-south, it would be immediately banned, because the right wing has spent years passing what they call trigger laws, where instantaneously, if Roe v. Wade were to be overruled, abortion would be outlawed. They're not gonna wait the week or two it would be required for them to pass the legislation. They did it preemptively. And so abortion would immediately become illegal in at least 13 states. 4 states, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, and West Virginia, they've even amended their constitutions to prohibit any protections for abortion rights. Vermont is literally the only state considering doing the opposite. So even in the states where there is a legal protection for abortion, it is not in the Constitution, it is simply legislation. Now, several other states don't have these trigger laws in place right now, but would likely move to ban or tightly restrict abortion if this did happen. That includes places like Florida, Indiana, Montana, and Nebraska. I mean, we're talking about states like Texas and Florida. These are very large states with big populations. You've got Alabama, Georgia, Iowa, Ohio, and South Carolina all having enacted restrictive laws that were later blocked by federal courts. Of course, if you got rid of Roe v. Wade, then in theory, they could then pass those incredibly restrictive bills once again. So instantaneously, many tens of millions of Americans would lose the right the instant it was published, and many more, Sabrina, in the the days and weeks afterward.
I think you mentioned that in the states that do will continue to have access to abortion, that things will like mostly remain the same. I think that clinics that do provide abortion are going to see a lot of strain in the coming future as more conservative states basically ban abortions. I think we're going to see more longer wait times, which is not something you want to do when you are waiting to get an abortion. You don't want to think about it more than you have to. You don't want the pregnancy to continue longer than it has to.
Yeah.
Abortion is a very, very difficult decision to make. And so with increased wait times, it's going to be really hard for the clinics and the pregnant people who have to struggle with that. So it's not just going to impact now, obviously, the people who do live in these southern and Midwestern states, they're going to have it a lot worse. Who knows if they're even going to be able to travel to blue states to try and get these services. I mean, heck, like some states, like I think Missouri, for example, wants to make it illegal for other states to like aid or abet like people who want to get abortions. Like, it's going to be really, really difficult for obviously people in those southern states, but also in the blue states as well.
100%. And let me just jump out in advance of probably more likely some Democrats will say this, but maybe some well-meaning people maybe in the audience. Just move is not a solution to this problem. Just drive to another state is for a lot of people not even a solution, but that might work for some. Just move out of an entire region of the country is difficult. As a person who's lived in multiple regions of the country, that costs a lot of money. A lot of people have family ties, career ties. Just saying, well, you effed up by living in Florida, that is completely lacking in the empathy that I think is even more called for in this time. I haven't seen those comments. I'm just saying if you're thinking that, it's not actually a solution to the problem. But let's talk about the inconvenience that Sabrina was just talking about there. What is the distance to the nearest abortion provider? Well, it didn't used to necessarily be that bad in some parts of the country, but you can see there that if it were to be outlawed, there's huge sections of the country where you would have to travel over 400 miles. Let me give you some numbers to really, when you just say, well, just drive to the next state, what does that actually mean in practice? Well, the average American would have to travel 125 miles. That's up from 25 miles right now. The percentage of Americans living over 200 miles away from a provider right now That's 1% of Americans. It would jump to 29%. Nearly 1 in 3 would be 200 miles from the nearest abortion provider. In Florida, the average one-way distance to drive to an abortion provider would instantly jump to 575 miles. What is it right now? 8. So that is over 1,100 miles. And that's assuming that it's a place where you can just go one time, where you don't have to do the little thing where you meet up with them, and then you have to think about it for 24 hours, and then you go back. You have to take time off of work if they'll even allow it. And God only knows what legislation they'll pass in states like Florida to penalize people who make those sorts of allowances. I mean, God only knows. And all of this is happening in a country that has been very, very clear for longer than the vast majority of you watching this have been alive. They don't support any of this. You can just look at these Gallup tracking polls. You can go back decades. There have never been more people who thought it should be outlawed than not. It's a 58-32 thing in America. This is like partisan. This is a slam dunk. And the right will try to pretend that none of that is true. By the way, a recent poll just came out today. I saw the results. Do you think that decisions about women's reproductive rights should be made by her and her doctor or the government? It was 70-24. You almost cannot find something where the American people are clearer. But of course, the American people live in America, in a democracy. The fact that we already decided this decades ago would matter. But we instead live in this country, Sabrina, where it doesn't matter, where something like 5 out of 6 of the justices that are gonna overrule Roe V. Wade were appointed by presidents that lost the popular vote, that were rejected by the people. But once again, one of the many mechanisms that produce these horrible right-wing outcomes saved them. They don't have the support of the people for their presidents, for the Supreme Court picks, or for the individual issues, and yet they keep on winning. What do you think?
They keep on winning. And the fact that the Supreme Court, there are barricades outside of it because they expected lots of outlash. It's certainly representative of the will of the people. If you're expecting people to riot at the news of this, and a lot of people are validly upset because this is not what the majority of people want. I mean, don't get me wrong, 70% is still like good, but I'm still shocked at the other 30%. What?
Yeah.
Brainworms.
Look, at least 24-30% of the country, they're Karens. They may not be shouting, in the front door of a Panera, but they have been convinced that the way to make their life better is to attack, to get involved in everyone else's life, and to micromanage their own sexual decisions. It is so unpopular. Take a look at this map. This is a map from 2014. This is an abortion ban in North Dakota. It lost 64-36 in North Dakota. Trump won North Dakota by 35 points. So even the most radical red, they don't want this. They don't. Some do. A few, not a majority. Not a majority basically anywhere. Those are the ones that are winning right now. And I'm gonna jump ahead because it is one thing to say we're going to kick it to the states and the states get to decide, which is not a principle that they hold. It's something that they say opportunistically. They want it to be outlawed everywhere. Be very clear about that. Ben Shapiro is saying right now, we're gonna leave it up to the individual states. If they pass a federal ban on abortion, he will be applauding it. So it's all BS, it's all see-through. But anyway, just kicking it to the states. Well, what about the states that are gonna be outlawing you going to a different state to get it? They're working on that. Missouri is considering making it illegal to aid or abet helping someone get an abortion in a different state. So that's your state's rights for you. This is, let's see, State Representative Mary Elizabeth Coleman. Under her measure, anything from driving women across state lines for abortions to internet providers allowing access to certain abortion-related websites. That would be enough. It's just, you can go to the website on the internet. They would be outlawing that even. Again, these are the free speech warriors that just think more freedom and accessibility on the internet would be a good thing. Billboards in St. Louis advertising abortions in neighboring Illinois would be banned. It would outlaw paying for a woman's abortion or helping them get insurance coverage to pay for the procedure. So they are going to try to outlaw it outside of their own state's borders. Bear that in mind.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.